It's the Sean Widmer Podcast. It's a journal by someone that just really doesn't like to write.
Thank you for tuning in, Sean Widmer Podcast. New week. So we will be back on video this week. Last week, no video. I apologize. Thank you to those who listened to the podcast last week. The Wednesday pod. We didn't have one last Monday. We snuck one in on Wednesday. We had my folks on Friday. Some decent response to my folks coming on. We'll get to that. The comments come up at the end of every episode. You can leave those over at seanslife.com, on Spotify if you're listening, on YouTube when there's a video, and of course on Patreon. Got some new Patreon people we'll thank here in a little bit. Appreciate everyone there. We'll get into that. We're going to talk about something that made me tear up a little bit over the last week. I think it was Thursday or Friday. I've got to remember exactly what day it was. We're going to talk about that in Kelly's What Are You Into? But we're going to talk to my cousin Ryan today. I've got a question to him. My very best pal. Love this guy. A day one guy. And someone who I talk to the most. I mean, outside my wife, I talk to Ryan the most. I talk to him every single day. And I love that. I love our relationship. I got a question for him because something's been popping up on my timeline. And I want to know what he thinks about it. So we're going to give him a call. Let's see what happens here. Skype. Oh, that Skype sound is loud. It's loud. He's just coming off vacation. He's coming off vacation. Will he answer? Oh, there he is. Hey, Ferg, what's up? You're on the podcast.
Hey.
Sorry, I know you're on vacation. Well, you're not on vacation anymore, are you?
Nah. Well, I like to pretend that vacation lasts all the way. You know, I make excuses like I can eat that. I'm still on vacation.
Well, I think
I'm at my house.
I think that's how you do it, right? You have to have vacation until you go to bed tonight, and then tomorrow it's exactly not vacation. Right. But otherwise, you just get into a funk of like the depressing Sunday scaries heading into the work week. Like just ride vacation until the day's done.
Because you can't wake up this morning and be like, you know what? I'm going to have that scone because I'm on vacation, and then somehow walk through the front door and just turn it off and be like, guess I'm not on vacation. You know, no. We'll carry it out through the day and we'll start over tomorrow.
I like that. I think you need to have a little bit of the vacation be in your house. You were in San Diego, which is the best. I love San Diego so much, Ferg.
It was amazing. We didn't see a whole lot of it because the place we stayed was pretty cool, so we were there a lot, but we got to go to the beach, and man, I would have a hard time living there and ever moving away from it because it was amazing.
It's awesome. I know Darnay moved down there and we went and visited him, and I thought, you're never leaving here. Like there's no, like when I left, I thought maybe, there was a chance at the time I thought maybe Darnay would move back up to Spokane, and we flew back, and I told Anna, I go, there's just no way. Like the trips are in San Diego for eternity, because why would you ever want to leave that?
Yes. Oh, it was amazing.
Okay, here's my question for you, Ryan. Amazing. Here's my question. I've got two questions for you, but this is the big one. On my timeline, it's been popping up. I saw a news story about it from, I think, the Spokesman Review or Creme 2 or someone covered it. And then I saw it pop up on, I don't remember if it was Facebook or Instagram. The 50-hour slam is back in Spokane. So you get 50 hours to make a film, and then they judge it, and, they give out awards for whoever can make the best film. You and I did this a bunch. You did it a ton. I mean, you're an amazing videographer. Amazing. Like ridiculous. If you don't believe me, Ryan, go to fergusonfilms.com. Okay? And
thank you for the advertising.
Yeah, and you can watch your own work there.
Take your time. Yeah. You can take your time, kind of talk about it.
Well, I can also give the Vimeo for the Creed music video, and then people can think otherwise. But we did the 48-hour film festival, which was held on New Year's Eve. And I know I did a 50-hour slam. I don't know if you and I did one together.
I never did the slam. I only did the 48. I did 48 hours.
Okay.
And then the 50-hour slam, those extra 2 hours, I think, make a pretty big difference. But this was the one that they played at first night, and it was the first one I got connected with, so that was just the one that we did.
Yeah.
First night, the New Year's Eve thing, but the 50-hour one seemed like it had a little bit more behind it, so that it doesn't surprise me that one is still lasting, and the 48-hour one has gone away.
Okay, well, it's really cool, and my question to you would be this: we did the 48-hour film festival. This would have been, Ryan, this was probably 10 years ago, 15 years ago. It had to be late 2000s, early 2010s.
Yeah. Well, so. One of them, Piper, was a brand new baby, and the very first one we did, she wasn't born yet, and she's 12.
Okay.
So
okay, there's the math.
It was 12, 13 years ago.
And we won. I feel like we always won not the judges, but we won the.
No, we won
the
judges.
Audience. Oh, we won judges.
We won judges. Yeah, but we were always runner-up in people's. And it was because ours were so technically sound, but they just didn't quite reach the people. I think that's right. I have to go back and actually look if I have those plaques somewhere in the garage, but I think we won judges, but we were like runner-up in People's Choice Award.
Okay.
I convinced myself that was the better one to win anyways because I was, a pretentious artist, and so it was like, well, I don't care what the people think.
Okay.
In hindsight, I feel like the People one would have been better. So let's say it was the People one that we won.
Well, here's my question for it. Now as what are you, 37, 36?
Somewhere in that neighborhood, yeah.
Well, how old are you?
I'm 38. I'll be
you're not.
39 in September.
No, you're not. Okay. I didn't. Okay. All right. So 38. As a 38-year-old, I'm 42. We're old. But we've had a lot of experience. You obviously, in the last 12 plus years, have done millions of hours of video editing and filming. Do you think we could absolutely destroy the 50-hour slam at this point in our life?
I do. Yes, I think we could. The only challenge would be staying up really late. I think we would all be very tired the next morning, and it might be difficult to get some things done. But I do think our ideas are better. The execution wasn't always there, but the idea of the film was always the best.
Yeah, I thought our ideas were great. I also feel like at this point in your life, the editing portion, am I wrong to think the editing portion would be easier for you now?
Yeah, here's what I think I would know is, like, when we say, like, for example, in one of our films where it was like, let's have them leaving the spaceport and we'll put on the spaceport, like, to Earth. And it's like, I'm not going to make a spaceport. Like, I can't make that look realistic. So I think the reality of, like, what I can and can't do, I'm much more clear on. So I think in the idea process, it would be easier to weed out the ideas. You're like, that sounds awesome. There's no way I can make that look realistic or good. So let's figure out a different idea. And I think that would help kind of narrow down what our idea was that would ultimately make it look better because it would be a little bit more, realistic.
What was the best of our three entries in your estimation?
So I think the first one and the third one.
The first one was Andrew.
The first one was the
Andrew
one was the one based on The Sims.
It was so good, man. What was it? Simple Kind of Life?
That one was clever. It was.
Was it a Simple Kind of Life? Is that what it was called?
A Simple Kind of Love. Very close.
There it is.
Because it was a romance, because that was one of the themes had to do with something like that. So technically it was the worst one done. It looks terrible. It's not edited very well, but it was a really clever idea. The third one was my favorite, the imaginary friend one. That idea, well, obviously it has legs. Isn't there a movie out now that has that's the same thing?
Ryan,
or the idea of it?
I've received multiple messages, including our buddy Andy, who texted and said, do you feel like Ryan Reynolds owes you some money? And like John Krasinski too, who made it. The imaginary friend movie that's out right now, we did that 12 years ago.
That's exactly right.
With John and I were in a bathtub together, for crying out loud. Ryan Reynolds can't even provide us with that kind of entertainment.
Zero chance.
It was a great, that theme was really awesome. Good. So that one was John and I, we filmed the whole video. John and I did a bunch of stuff together, and it was like John and I were hanging out, and we showed us doing a lot of things. And then at the end, the twist was he was imaginary. And so we showed all the things that we had done with just me, and John wasn't actually there. And we're like in public doing things without him then.
And that was the part of the story. And then the other one was you were the imaginary friend, and you had a friend who was also an imaginary friend, and you were complaining because the guy you were with was like 38 years old, like doing imaginary friend stuff. And it was Joe Greer was the other one. And so then it was like a love story between this older lady or not older lady, but they were older and they were still imaginary friends. So that was like the other half of the story. You guys were kind of the comedic relief, and they were sort of the little love story that fit all the themes that they gave us. It was really, I think our idea was really clever, and I think the execution was okay. Technically, there were some problems, and we didn't win any awards because of that. But I do think I do think the idea was the strongest that we had.
I forgot about that part of it. Oh, that's awesome. Well, yeah, it was the part I wasn't in, so why would I ever think about that?
Yeah, why would you remember? Who cares about that part?
Yeah, what are you talking about? What was our second one?
The second one was, you were also a big role in this one. It was Dawn Over Time. And that was the one that everybody would, like, at the time it was a technical improvement from the first one, but it was not. It's really corny. I mean, it's really corny. It's you going on taking your daughter on a date who's like, in the film, she's like 7 years old. And it's very much like you're talking about a guy she's dating and going to Nordstrom, and it's all very confusing, or it seems like it. Honestly, I think it was based off of a terrible car commercial. Basically, you're looking at your grown daughter through the eyes of seeing her as if she was 7.
That's right.
It wasn't,
That's right.
It wasn't the strongest. It wasn't
that's
the
right.
strongest idea.
The idea was great, though, Ferg. The idea
you
was
had
great.
Makeup on to look like you were old at one scene.
The idea was great. I was supposed to be the old man, and it looked like I was on a date with my 7-year-old daughter. But in reality, she was 23, 24. But yeah, I was
and
still
she was getting proposed to. Yeah.
Yes, and I was seeing her as a 7-year-old forever. That still.
That's right.
Okay, but Ryan, you even saying that still pulls at my heartstrings as a good idea. It just was executed poorly.
Right, and. Yeah, it was okay. It's not a terrible idea, like for a commercial, like a car commercial or a little short film. I think it was fine. I had just had my daughter Piper. That was the one that she was like a year old for, and so I think that was probably kind of driving it. And then now you as a father of a daughter could appreciate that sort of like, oh yeah, okay, I get that. And I think that's why all the adults really loved it, and everybody else was like, this is sort of lame.
I just think the problem is, like you said, staying up late is a problem. There's also an energy you have as a younger kid. One who enters these 50-hour slams. Well, there's a couple that are like legitimate actors, but you make do with what you can provide with your age. And I'm so old now. You would be like, can you look less tired? Can you? Hey, could you just maybe for a second look like you're not falling asleep acting? And I would be like, no, I can't. This is what I look like now.
Because we would stay up till 2 a.m. on Friday writing scripts and figuring out our idea. And then Saturday we'd spend the whole day shooting. And then I'd come home Saturday night and I would edit all night and then all day Sunday, or we'd get any pickup shots and it had to be delivered by 5 o'clock on Sunday evening. And so it was all, fun. But then now it was like, dude, first of all, to give up a weekend by staying up that late, because then you got to go back to work on Monday. Like, just forget it. That would be so hard. So it'd have to be the idea that we could shoot and edit and call it good in about 4 or 5 hours on a Saturday, be done with it, and then see how it goes. But yeah, that would be the hardest thing, is carving out that time. But I do think that group of people we had in my living room brainstorming, that was my favorite part of the process, just working through the ideas. And I do think we were creative enough to come up with really great ideas.
Yeah, I think we could keep that going. Well, I keep seeing these commercials on whatever platform I'm on, because I still get Spokane stuff.
Yeah,
and I'm like, dang it! I wish I was in Spokane. You did it a few times
with your buddy.
I did. So Andy wanted a bunch as best actor, because they would give out in the 50-hour slam. They'd give out a ton of awards. So they'd give out like not only the audience one, but they'd give out judges. Then they would give out all these other things like best actress, best actor. Best like script or whatever they did. They gave out a ton of awards. Then it was really cool. And Andy always won best actor and would be like, well, I've got 8x11s of my face somewhere. And I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. Dude. But his were good. Andy was in really, really good ones. And I remember watching him thinking, gosh, I wish we were in this so we could go head to head with his films. Because they had a guy who was a legitimate actor in theirs, outside of Andy, of course, a legitimate actor and a real guy, a guy who really was good at film. And I always thought Ryan versus Davin head to head would have been a really fun battle, but we were in different contests.
Yeah, we were. Yeah, the 50-hour was all of the serious, like people that wanted, like that's what they wanted to do in life, is make narrative short films, and so they did. They made some awesome. I would watch those every year, and be like, oh, these are really good. Ours was against people that would make dancing playing card videos called Ace of Spades, and that's what we had to compete with.
Did we not
and
lose
that's why
to that?
We did so well.
Did we not lose to Ace of Spades in the Peoples?
No.
Did they win the Peoples?
Maybe we did. I don't remember actually. Maybe that was the one that won.
Spades.
Yeah, that was bad.
It was bad.
Really bad.
It was bad. But ours were,
although it was like animation. So thinking back on it now, like that guy, the ability to create that animation in 48 hours is actually unbelievably impressive. But at the time, it was a competition, so we didn't. We couldn't stand for it.
I loved it. It was really fun. Okay, well then I'm going to consider us victorious this year, so everyone else is going for second place. You're just lucky we're not all in the same spot. I am laughing thinking about all of us because you had, in the group we were hanging with, you were the first one to have a kid in the group we were with. And I look at it now and I think we were all in your house, in your living room, staying up super late, expecting to have this big time, and you had a 1-year-old. And I think about having a 1-year-old now and having all those people being loud in your house until 2 a.m. and it makes my entire body start to like get sweaty and nervous because that sounds miserable. We didn't care.
You know what? Here's the thing though. Out of my 3 children, you know who is the best sleeper? The one that never had a problem sleeping through the night or going to bed. It was the one that had to go to bed when there was 30 people in the house making loud noises, eating pizza. Yeah. So I think we it's like we get these kids and we don't want to make any noise, and then now none of them sleep through the night. I mean, I'm speaking from my own experience. My boys are terrible sleepers.
Yeah, we owe
Maddox.
Maddox.
Piper's amazing. She falls asleep anywhere.
We owe Maddox and Otis an apology. That's on us. We weren't loud enough when they were kids. That's on us.
Well, you got a baby on the way, so maybe once he's born, we should start doing some 48-hour film festivals in your living room.
I'll tell my wife right now, we are going to do whatever the Kentucky 50-hour slam is. We're going to do it, and we're going to do it right after. We're going to do it right after Woods is here, so that'll be great. Okay, Ryan. Before you go, I got to give you a shout out. I mentioned it the other day on the podcast, but I've got to give the shout out to you yourself. The idea you started about 19 days ago is one of my favorite things we've ever done as a group of friends. And it is the song of the day. You've got the month of May, and you send out one song every day as the song of the day, and our group of friends listens to it. And by that, I mean I listen to it, and I love it. Right. And I think it's the most clever thing that everyone should do. I love it, dude. I love it.
Because I thought of it, and I was like, this would be so much fun. And you are the only person that likes the messages or mentions the song at all. And I've had to watch because I'm like, well, I'm just going to look for songs that'll make Sean laugh. Yeah. Like I had a list of like, this is what I'm going to do, but I'm trying to stick to that. But it's very difficult when I'm getting zero feedback from anybody else in the group. Also, Kenny has freaking Spotify or Pandora. So I got to go to a separate app to get a link to him. And I've sent him every day. I'm sending 2 links and I get nothing from him.
Why? Okay. Why is he using Pandora as his music streaming app? He's got to be the only person in my entire life that I know. I think if I went through every single person I know and I said, what do you use to listen to music? I would get more I don't know how to stream musics than I use Pandora.
That's right. Here's what you would get. You would get a lot of people who are my mother, who used Pandora on their iPad to click on a radio station and let it play in the kitchen. Yeah. Okay. So I think there is a lot of people of that age group that are still using Pandora. None of them are paying for Pandora One, which is essentially just Spotify. Like looking through the app and figuring out, it's like, it works exactly like Spotify. You make playlists, you find whatever song, whatever album. Yeah. It is just Spotify, only it's Pandora. And it's hilarious to me that that's what Kenny uses. Hilarious. I guess he started using it as the radio, and he just, he couldn't change.
It's crazy, man. You're right about that, though. What's the Chris Tomlin? I feel like our moms use Pandora so they could listen to Chris Tomlin radio.
That's right.
That's it. Uh-huh. And Kenny Chris did too. Tomlin you know radio. What? No, Kenny did too. So that's probably
I think he might
Kenny is our moms. Kenny is our moms. Yeah. Well, I love it. I think it's so fun. I'm already excited for tomorrow.
I think it's great.
It's also been fun because, like today, you sent out a song that I had on my list of songs I wanted to send out. It's one of my favorite songs.
Really, that's crazy.
Yeah, and it's one of my favorite songs. It was a Sullivan Lake song for me. I would always listen to that album driving to Sullivan, so I loved it. Ryan, I got to tell you, I was excited to send it because I've got about 7 songs on my list that I think none of you guys have heard, and that was one that was one that I thought, no one's heard this. I'm going to introduce them to Coconut Records. And you sent it today, and I was like, Stinkin' Ferg knew about, like, We both knew about this band, but I don't think we've ever talked about it.
So there are some songs. I found a bunch of songs, probably enough, and then I just wanted to keep looking, and so I found like in 2008, Google Music came out, and they were like, "Hey, you can upload your entire library to Google Music for free." So I did it, and so it was my entire iTunes library that I had from 2006 or 7. And it's all on Google Music, and they've kept it, and now it's YouTube Music, but they've transferred it all over. So I have all these old, like, it'll be like a band that I'm like, what is this? I click on it, there's one song. But here's the thing, it's like half of the music I've found, I'm like, I'm 90% sure that you're the one that sent that to me. Okay. Like all of the music that I'm like, oh yeah, this song. Oh, I'm pretty sure Sean is the one who introduced me to that and sent that one to me. So half of these, I mean, it's good that you're the only one paying attention to it, because I feel like you're responsible for all this music anyway.
I'm already excited for tomorrow. It's like I'm genuinely excited. There's been one song you sent that I didn't know and I did not love it, but otherwise, I think there's been two songs.
I was surprised. I thought that was a well-known Vampire Weekend, right?
Yeah, and I know Vampire Weekend for what did they say? Okay. In the drinking horchata. That's I think them. I think that's them. Anyways, I know you're right. I don't know them.
That was one of those bands where it's like it was similar to Arcade Fire. There were like 3 Arcade Fire songs that I listened to a lot, but then I would go to those albums. I was like, I didn't listen to this album. It was back in the day of the burned CDs where it was you picked 3 songs you liked and mixed them with a bunch of other ones and never bothered to get the album.
You and I were very into our iTunes library as well. I think that's part of why we have this bond with our music. It was very important to us that our iTunes library looked nice on an iPod Color, and so that album art came up. Like it was a really big deal because we had a lot of very illegal music. So it was like, if you got the illegal music, you need to go download the cover of the album, because that was, if it didn't have album art and it came up on my iPod Color, it made me so pissed off. Oh, I was so pissed.
Yeah. Yes. Terrible.
You know what feature I'm always bummed out about?
Album art had to be correctly labeled, right album. Oh, so great.
Don't have a bunch of underlines in between the names of the artist and the music. Like just
no. Oh, the title is the name of the song and the artist and the album. Get out of here with that.
Get out of here. I would take hours and just edit everything. So one of the things I'm bummed out about that I wish I had still had on Spotify from iTunes, I loved the play count, because it kept the play count of every one of your songs in your library. Right. And I valued that number.
Oh, I forgot about that.
So much. I had Reliant K, Forget Not, Slow Down. That was like 1,000 plays. And I remember thinking, doing the math on it, going, I've listened to this song too much. But it was just at a time where I listened to it all the time. And anytime I did anything, I listened to it. And I loved it on the play count thing. That was way up there. It was, but that's gone. And now you get your end of the year, like you listen to the song a ton, but it doesn't say how many times you listened. And I want to know how many times I listened.
That's right. And I also don't trust that number. I don't trust those like, oh, you listen to this song and that song, and I don't like it. And I think part of it is because you used to be able to see it, and you would see a song climbing that maybe you were like, I guess I like it, but I don't really know why it's climbing. Let me remove that off some of these playlists because I don't want it in my top 20.
Yep.
But you don't get that with Spotify. You get to the end of the year and you think, I don't know. I don't feel real excited about that number. So I'd like to get check-ins quarterly so I know where I'm at with what song I need to get rid of to try to get the songs I like at the top.
Right, it's a great idea. I also don't know. I feel like that's so easy for Spotify. They've got the numbers. They see how much we love Wrapped. Wrapped is like the second Spotify Wrapped comes out, it is the #1 trending thing on the internet for 2 days.
Yes.
Why wouldn't you just put one out in spring, summer, and fall? We can't get enough of it. We want the numbers. Just throw it out. No one's going to, and it's also not like someone's going to be mad where they go, oh my gosh, Spotify is spamming me with another great list of the songs I like.
Right. No, it would be amazing. Everybody, and it's easy enough to ignore if you're not into it, but if you are into it, and you know what, I think now that you bring that up about iTunes, it's the people like us that were so into the iTunes the play count are the ones that are really into the Wrapped. You know?
Yeah, that's actually true. That's actually very true. It's just it's the old school. It's the old school in us. All right, go enjoy the rest of your vacation. I'm glad you guys and I'm glad that it was just you and Alyssa. What a way to. I know you guys get really busy when summer rolls around. I appreciated it as a fellow married human, knowing that you guys took some time just to go get away from your kids.
Well, it was technically we did because it's our 15-year anniversary in July. And we decided that since I'm shooting a wedding, I think 3 of them that weekend, and she's got 2. So we were like, you know what, let's do the celebration in May. So that's what we told people we were celebrating. I mean, we were. So it was our anniversary.
I got to tell you, and I know I got married way late, so I'm on like my first anniversary or whatever it is. But I go out, I play basketball. I've got kids that are a certain age, and my body hurts when I wake up. So there's a lot of signs of being old, but I don't feel old until you or Aaron and Reed or John and Heather.
Yeah.
When someone mentions how many years our group has been married, that's the number to me that makes me go, ooh, we are not young anymore.
We're not super young. Now, in fairness, we all got married really young. Like
you did.
I would say the average age of the clients that I'm working with now that are getting married are like 27 to 30. Like it's that neighborhood of people getting married. I think I was 23 when I was married. That's a pretty decent head start on a lot of people. So I agree. We're old, but I'm trying to, let's change the perspective and say, look how young we are.
I think Aaron and Reed have been married for 40 years.
They actually have.
I think they've been married for 40 years. Like I do. I think my sister, it's like, Aaron, you've been married to Reed for 40 years, and it's like,
been a long time. They were married in high school.
They've been married before I was born. It was like, what is happening?
That's right.
So that's the number though. When our group of friends says their years married, that is when I officially am like, oh boy, boy. No wonder I can't drink 3 sodas during the day and not wake up the next morning feel like I'm gonna break a scale if I stand on it.
Nah, dude, it's vacation.
We would drink 40 Dr. Peppers in Graham's backyard.
So
we would drink 40. Like we would just consume all the soda pop. We would eat popsicles, and we would just eat chips. We lived on chips. A whole summer of living on chips, and we weighed 170 pounds.
That's right. Couldn't gain weight. You posted something in your Instagram story today about the new college football game, and how young people need to go in and know what it was like to change the names. So I feel like it's the same thing with the album art, in the same vein as that. Like until you know what that was like, don't whatever.
Yeah, don't act like you're like.
I remember college football nights, and we would go to Walmart and get. I remember one night I was like, my goal tonight is to drink an entire 12-pack of like Mug cream soda or A&W cream soda or something.
What are we doing?
The amount of like grams of sugar that would be, like, dude, I would die if I tried to have 3 of those right now. I feel like I would explode.
Think about it now.
That's so funny.
Think about the amount of that, just the amount of candy. I still love candy. I love candy. But if I was to eat a whole bag of candy, which we would eat multiple bags. If I ate one bag, I would just be sitting on the couch, not wanting to talk to anyone, praying that everyone was leaving my house. I would be like, gosh, is everyone going to leave soon so I can just die right now?
Yeah.
And
I have such a bad headache.
We would eat one bag driving back from picking up the game back to the house.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Insane.
Absolutely.
Anyways, this happens to everyone, but that's again, we're old. But we'd still win the 50-hour slam. We would still win. Our life experience would carry us. Our life experience would carry us. We would just need some young, talented actors and actresses that we could put on the film, because you do need a little bit of looks, right? And I still think we still have some good looking.
Sure.
We still have some good looking people in the group, but just not. We don't have what you need in the chamber to win one of these.
We're getting close to being able to use our kids as actors and actresses.
That's a great point,
right? Like we're not that far away from that.
That's a great.
And then it'll be real easy because we can come up with the ideas and they can stay up late and do all the work.
How fun will that be? We'll just be like,
that'd be great.
Here you go, kids. Go win your parents another trophy. Thank you, guys.
That's right.
All right, Ferg, I got to go. Thank you for answering your phone call.
Oh, yeah, man. Anytime.
I appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of vacation.
Yes, I will.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
All right, there he is. There's Ryan. I love that guy. 50-hour slam. I would love to re-enter it at some point. I know I don't live in the States anymore, but in the States, in Washington anymore. But I think it would be fun to travel out there a weekend in the next few years and do the 50-hour slam and then come back to Lexington, but go out and do that with Ryan. He's so good now. He was really good at editing video back then. He's ridiculously good at it now. Like his work is is spectacular. Again, if you go look at his wedding videos, they're different. They're wildly good. I know he's professional, but they're a national professionalism as opposed to just like, oh, he's a wedding videographer in Spokane. That's not Ryan. He's nationally great at editing video. So I would love to go out there and film with Ryan. I would love to go to bed early, let Ryan stay up all night editing, and then reap the rewards of the win, even though I did very little work. Let's do this.
Kelly's, what are you into?
I've got to give it to Ryan. He kind of jumped in there and stole a little bit of what I was going to do for Kelly's What Are You Into? Because over the weekend, some tears in my eyes, a little bit of emotions came out when EA Sports released their first kind of trailer for the new college football video game. And it hit the internet, and the world went, the video game and sports world went bonkers. This is a passionate fan base. This is a legendary video game franchise. It's a monstrous video game franchise. And the new edition after NCAA Football 14 was the last one. So it's been a 10-year hiatus. It's back, and people are hyped about it. So I was super excited. And so I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. I'm looking at all the comments. I'm looking at all the people posting about it. I'm reading the comments on the EA Sports video. I'm getting excited. And it was funny because I noticed a lot of people who were commenting about how they really loved being an OG NCAA football fan, and they would talk about the Jared Zambransky game. What was that, 2008? 2009, 2007, in that range. Or they're like, oh, I'm an OG NCAA football person from the PS4 or the Xbox 360. And it was like, okay, well, we need to go back. We need to go back to PS2 days. And my main thing was this: you can't come in here and claim to be OG NCAA football fan unless there was a time in your life where you got a memory card, you put it in the mail with $5, and you sent it to Fairdale Kings or DT Linder, or I've got to remember the other one, BK Lover, and got that memory card back 2 weeks later with the entire roster file on it. That's the only way you can convince me you're an OG NCAA football fan. It was funny. I posted a picture of it on Instagram. Ryan had mentioned it, and I've got to give a shout out to Rich Craich, who I love. Rich and I did a basketball podcast for a minute for a CBS group. It was really fun, and I love Rich. And now he does Voices of Wrestling podcast. He's a big-time podcaster, and I wish so badly I had kept doing stuff with him because he went on to be a successful podcaster, and I'm just very jealous of that. But he commented, and I had said, okay, Fairdale Kings and DT Linder better get ready for memory cards because again, OG fans of the series remember sending a memory card to these guys. They had filled out the entire NCAA roster, like all the teams. They had filled out every name because the game came with, just QB7, WR 88 for every team. Just had the number and the position. And these guys would go through and they'd edit the rosters for every single team and put the actual players in there. It would take hundreds of hours to do this. They would do it. You'd go to Operation Sports, at least I would. I'd go to Operation Sports, and I would just refresh every day the NCAA football threads. And eventually it would say, Fairdale Kings roster is released. And you would get a memory card. He'd put an address, a P.O. box address in there, and you'd send this memory card off. You'd send $5 or more if you actually had a real job. And they would take your memory card, they'd put the roster file on it and send it back to you, and now you could play your video game with fully named rosters. It was crazy. So Rich had responded because I had said Fairdale Kings and DT Linder, and he said BK Lover. So that's who he used, BK Lover. And I said, oh man, never went through him, but I'm loving the names I'm getting because I had other people sending me the folks that they used to send their memory card to. And then Rich goes, imagine me being like 14, putting a memory card in the mail to a man named BK Lover. Here, man called BK Lover, here's my address. That was the times. 2002, 2003. We're just young kids hanging out, putting our addresses on envelopes, sending memory cards, sending $30, $40 memory cards that we never knew if we were officially going to get back or not. And praying that we would, we're either out $35 or we were going to have the time of our lives and we'd get to see Larry Fitzgerald's name on the game, even though all of us really wanted to get through the first 4 years and get onto the entire roster of every single team being fake names. That was when the game really got good, right? You'd been recruiting, and so you knew the recruits that you wanted to have come to your school. They didn't. So you saw what school they went to, and you're like, oh my gosh, if Darren Williamson is good for Michigan, I'm going to be pissed off that he went there. You should be here at Buffalo, rocking the Buffalo Bulls jersey, because I would have got you thousands upon thousands of receiving yards, Darren. You made a bad mistake going to Michigan, bud. What a time. The other way I know you're an OG NCAA person is if you have a notebook with stats in it. Okay? If you don't have a notebook with stats in it, I don't want to see your posts on like, oh, it's finally back. The franchise of my childhood. I was the guy. I was the best. This was the best game when I was little. If you didn't have a notebook with statistics in it, you aren't OG NCAA. I'm so excited for this game. Comes out middle of July. I'm definitely going to. With all my kids, I've told my wife I will take the overnights. I do better overnight than my wife does with sleep. And so I always, with Olivia and with Huck, I did all the overnight feedings. I would stay up overnight with the kids. I don't mind it, so it's not a big deal. It's not like I'm patting myself in the back. I just don't mind it. So why wouldn't I take the overnight shift with the kids so my wife can get caught up on sleep? She just had a baby. She can use the sleep more than I can. And so now I'm like, oh, Woods, your timing, buddy, is wonderful. You're going to be born beginning of July. We'll get a couple weeks to get everything situated. And then right when the game comes out, you're going to be needing me to hold you overnight. Oh, man. And I'm really good at the holding face away from the TV because some doctor somewhere scared America into believing that if the kid looks at the TV as an infant, their brain's going to explode. So I've gotten really good at holding my kid facing me and away from the TV and getting both hands on the controller. I am going to log so many overnight seasons of NCAA football with the Buffalo Bulls. It's going to be absolutely insane. I cannot wait. Okay, let's read some comments and get out of here today. Here's what we've got. Let's go to Spotify first. Yvonne said this. It was great hearing your mom and dad. Can't wait to hear on Patreon. We'll comment there. Would love to play board games with you guys. My family is very fun to play board games with. I will tell you, my sister is elite at making board games fun. My sister is so wonderful at playing games. She makes everything fun. My mom and dad do as well, but I've got to give a shout out to my sister for that. But she said she was going to comment on Patreon. If you don't know what that is, Patreon members get weekend podcasts. I've been on a pretty good streak of it being every weekend. It won't be every weekend, but you get an extended podcast on the weekends. And this week it was with my mom and dad. And Yvonne said, loved hearing them. Need to sing along next time. Glad you didn't edit, especially when they continued to talk a little after. I would love to be on sometime. I can talk about anything, except video games. Love you guys. Love the guests. Also, 30 minutes or more is good amount of time. The 20 minutes, not enough time to say it all. Well, this one's long. This one's going to be almost 45 minutes. Dylan, thank you for becoming a Patreon member, patreon.com/Sean Widmer podcast. Thank you for supporting the podcast. Grant, who became a Patreon member, a Grant Starkweather, a old school NCAA football guy. He was on the Madden website. He was on Madden Mania, the site we would do all of our Madden and college football dynasties on back in the mid-2000s. He's from that. So, Grant, thank you for supporting the podcast. It means a lot to me. Dylan said this, love the Patreon episodes so far. I agree, having guests is great. 30 minutes or longer for sure. Heck, if you come up with a 7-hour episode, I'm in. We're driving to Oregon coast in July. I need something to block out the sounds of my kids fighting in the car. I got you. Maybe we'll do a really long one of these days. Just a 2-hour vomit fest. And you can save that one for the drive. And then we've got this last one from Ian. He said, some of your early pods were dumpster fires, like pre-Anna pods. I'm partial to the... Okay, and then he goes on for some Dungeons & Dragons talk. I'm partial to the drow, as far as elves go. They feel menacing on looks alone. They do. They're awesome, right? And then it said, Kelly's, what are you into? Here's his Kelly's, what are you into? Disney Speedstorm, specifically the remix of the music, but it's basically Mario Kart. Olivia could play it easily. Emma does. So Disney Speedstorm. I need to check out that game. I don't know what it is. So I'll check that out. Disney Speedstorm. I'm going to look it up on YouTube right now. Thank you, Ian. Yeah, I have, if you only had access to, because I've got them, a bunch of my podcasts from when I had a really good streak of the podcast in the late 2000s into the early 2010s, they're so bad. They're so bad. But I thought I was killing it. They're all 10-minute episodes, and they're so bad. I'm not saying these are gold, but these are way better than that. So think about that. Okay, I got to go. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.